I can update hundreds of pages in Webflow using variables, and I'm going to show you how to do it too. Last month, Webflow announced variables for everyone to use immediately, and I couldn't be more excited to show you how to use them too. But firstly, what are variables and why should you care? Don't be scared. They're not variables like in a programming language. There's no logic problems to be solved here. Put simply, variables are reusable values that we can use globally across our website. We can put whatever number, font family, spacing, or even color value that we want, and its entire job is to just hold that value. That's all they are, empty spaces for us to fill. If you were using color swatches in global classes in the previous version of Webflow, then you'll appreciate just how much cleaner variables can make your builds. Let's start with something simple to give you an idea. I have this very basic website design that has very little styling, basically just spacing and some padding in a couple of spots. Let's change the font family for headings on this page to instrument serif. I'm going to open the variables panel and create a new variable and give it the value instrument serif. And just like that, we've made our first variable. Then we can apply this to all of our headings. So we can select the heading at the actual heading value. And then normally we would click font and then select instrument serif, but instead, because this is a variable, we're going to select the purple circle and click font family instrument serif. And we can just go ahead and apply this to all of our headings. Now that it's on all of our headings, I want to apply a sans serif to our paragraphs to give the website a bit more contrast. So I'm going to apply a font called Instrument Sans Serif, a complementary font to Instrument Serif. I'm going to open my variables panel again, and instead of writing just sans serif here, I'm going to write font family, font-family / sans serif. And what this is going to do is create a folder for us called font family. Folders really only serve two purposes. They make things a lot easier for us to read when it comes to the actual CSS, and they group a lot of the fonts into folders within the variable panel. So they're a lot easier to see for us. I'm going to go ahead and do the same for the original and call that serif. So now you can see that they both live in a folder called font family, and we can call them a serif and sans serif. And one more thing, when you create a new variable, that variable is created underneath the previous variable. So it's important to get the order right the first time. In its current implementation, we can't reorder variables. So for right now, just be aware when you're creating new ones. And in case you're wondering, capitalization doesn't matter, but I like to do lowercase because that's the closest thing to CSS that we have. CSS variables are already lowercase, so it's going to be a lot easier for us to remember them. Working smart means keeping things simple. Now we can apply our sans serif variable to our paragraphs and buttons, and I'm going to do that at the body all pages level. And I actually forgot to change it from Arial to Instrument Sans. So I'll just change that really quick. So now they're all our new sans serif, which is Instrument Sans. Now, if we want to give our type a bit more personality, we can add weight. But unfortunately, weight is not an option when it comes to CSS variables. You can do it in custom code, but within the Webflow panel, it's not possible right now. That being said, font size is possible, so we're going to do that next. We're going to make our first number variable. I'm going to go into the variable panel. I'm going to say new variable size. And just like creating a folder last time, I'm going to call this one heading and do /h1. So our h1 size will live within this folder called heading. And I'm going to give this a value of 4 rem, which is equivalent to 64 pixels. And if we close out of here, and we apply it to our heading 1. Same deal, click the purple circle, click H1, and it's automatically applied. So whenever we use this, it's going to remain consistent. Now let's start creating some sizes for these headings. I'm going to do a H2, do heading /H2. I'm going to give this a value of 3 rem. Heading /H3, give this value of 2 rem. And we're just kind of jumping down by rems here. Just kind of eyeballing it. And heading /H4. We're going to give this 1.5 rem. Now we're going to apply this to all of our headings. Now we've got variables for all of our headings, and I'm going to do a variable for our paragraphs as well. So our paragraphs right now are sitting at a really base size of 16 pixels or 1 rem, which is the equivalent. That's by default in most browsers. So I'm going to create a variable, and I'm just going to call this actually size, as it currently is, but put a slash and write base. And this base will just be 1 rem. I'm going to apply it to the body. That way it's always our base. And the coolest part about this is that now, anytime we use base, it will get the same measurement as our base font size. So if we decide that later we want to scale everything up, we can do that in just the variable panel. We don't have to remember where everything is and go looking for every individual measurement. This looks good on the desktop, but what if I want to start scaling the browser down? If we go down from desktop to tablet to landscape to portrait, the font size doesn't really change, and we have two options here. You might think that we can take a variable and apply it at another breakpoint, and you'd be right, but it defeats the purpose of using variables altogether. Our goal is to keep measurements and colors in one central location. With this approach, you'd have to update all of your headings, paragraphs, buttons, and so much more for every single page and every single element and every single breakpoint. And that's a problem. With all these sizes applied, nothing will happen when we start breaking the screen down. So let's hop back into the CSS embed and see what we're going to do next. I have a CSS embed at the top of the page, and I have 3 different breakpoints, one for tablet, landscape, and portrait. And here's where the variables are going to come into play. We're going to make responsive sizes for the headings on each of these breakpoints, and then we're going to apply them in here. And I'm going to show you how to do it. So let's create variables for our individual breakpoints. And this time, instead of heading, I'm going to write heading dash tablet slash h1. So this will now create a new folder called heading tablet. So we have heading, heading tablet, and we're going to do the same for heading landscape. Forgot to put a slash there. And heading dash portrait slash h1. And now I'm just going to do the same thing that I did previously, where I'm going to jump down rems here by half rem. So we'll do 3.5. Oops, we want that on the tablet, 3.5 rem. And then on heading landscape, we want 3 rem. And heading portrait, we want 2.5 rem. Now let's do the H2s as well, and we'll leave the H3s alone just for the sake of keeping this short. We'll do heading dash landscape slash H2. We'll change the values afterwards. Heading dash portrait slash H2. And then one more. Heading dash tablet slash H2. Okay, so for our H2, it originally starts at 3 rem, so we're going to say 2.5 rem. And then on landscape, we're going to say 2 rem. And on portrait, 1.5 rem. So this is the importance of actually doing your classes in the correct order, so that they become out of order and then you can't rearrange them. And it becomes a headache to try to remember which order they are. So it's helpful to do it from smallest to largest or largest to smallest. Just make sure to pick a rule and stick to it. So now that we've got our headings for each of our different breakpoints, like I said, we could, if we wanted to, take this and apply a different size on it. So we scroll down to heading tablet and do H1 here. Or we can just set one size, which is what we currently have, and reference all of it in the CSS. So I'm going to open that CSS embed back up. And what we're going to do for the tablet is do root, and this is where all of our CSS variables live. When you create a Webflow variable in CSS, it creates this class in the root where that variable lives. So we're going to say root. We're going to open up that. And we're going to write dash dash heading, because that's technically what a folder is. It's the start of a variable. And we're going to say dash h1. So this is referencing the h1 that is in the original heading. And what we're going to do next is overwrite it. So we're going to say var, which means variable, dash dash heading dash tablet. So we're saying that this is the heading tablet folder. And then we're going to do dash dash h1. So basically what's happening here is we're creating a folder with those two dashes. So we're saying heading dash tablet is a folder, dash dash h1. So the h1 lives within that. I actually just realized I'm missing dash dash there. And put a semicolon. And when I hit save, you'll notice that because we're on the tablet responsive breakpoint, it'll immediately change. And what's happening here is that we're basically telling the CSS to reference the original heading h1 that we have, and we're saying overwrite it with our new tablet size heading. And we could do the same thing for our h2s as well. So we'll say dash dash heading dash dash h2. We'll give that the variable. And when you name things the same, it makes it a lot easier to remember writing them. And click save. The h2s will scale as well. And we could do the same thing for the mobile landscape stuff. We can say root. Oops. Say landscape. And we'll save that and we'll close it, just so I can show you. We go from desktop to tablet to mobile landscape, and they all change font sizes. And the beauty of this is that even though we're going between different breakpoints, the font size isn't actually changing in Webflow. We're referencing the H1 default size at all times, which means that if we want to modify this in, say, a heading style H1 class or some hero class with a random H1 class on top of it, we can do that without actually changing the property at each individual breakpoint. It makes it a lot cleaner and easier to understand when all of the variables you're messing with are all in one central panel. We're not dealing with breakpoints, we're dealing with just this one panel. Now we could go and apply all of the variables to all the different panels, but it's unnecessary. I think we've got the point across. Now that we have this natural responsiveness, what if we shrink the browser down and we don't want a heading to be a certain size? We want it to be custom. You might find in some cases that this is preferable, so I'm going to show you how to do that. Let's say we're in the desktop and we jump down to tablet and we have our heading 3 here, but it's attached to our H3 variable. It's easy. We just click it and we break it, and we can write whatever we want here. Or you could change it to another variable if you prefer. Now I'm going to create some swatches for our design so we can apply color to our elements. I'm going to open the variables panel and I'm going to do color swatch slash, and we'll do a black color. Swatch slash, we'll say black 64 or black secondary. This will be our black color at a lower opacity, and we'll do the same for a white color as well. So we'll say white, and then we'll do a swatch slash white dash secondary. Then we want to have like a CTA or an accent color. So I'm going to do a orange here. Don't worry, we're going to apply the colors afterwards. And I want like a light orange as well. So light orange. And let's do these real quick. So we'll say 64%. Then the white secondary will be white at 70%. and the orange. Let's kind of color pick a nice reddy orange here. We want that same orange here, but maybe, oops, but maybe like a lot lighter. Okay, so a bright orange color is going to be our brand color, and the lighter orange color will be an accent to that color. This is going to give us more granular control over what colors certain elements are. So let's apply these colors to semantic meanings. It's sort of like we did for the actual font sizes. We have the swatches, and we're going to reference those swatches in other variables. So I'm going to create a new color variable, and I'm going to call this text-primary. And we'll just say that this is our black color. And we'll do one called text-secondary. And actually, I forgot to put this in a folder. So color/text primary, color/text secondary, and we'll tie this to our black secondary color. This will be color slash, we'll say this is light BG for light background. And we'll do color slash, let's say dark background, dark BG. We'll do color slash dark dash BG. And this will be our dark background. Say that this is orange. Now we'll say it's black. We'll do color slash button dash BG. So this is the background color of our button, and we want this to be the orange color. And then we'll do color slash button text. And this will be the text within our color. And we want this to be white to match the background. And then of course, we want just a simple link color. So color slash link text. And this will also be an orangey color. Now we put all these colors in a color folder to keep them separate. The beauty of separating colors from their context is that if we want to change the button's color, we aren't changing the color, just the reference to it. In reverse, if we want, we can recolor the entire site in one move using the original variables. Now let's apply color in the same way that we applied fonts. I've already put classes on my elements to keep them separate, so that should help us. I'm going to start by coloring the buttons. So we've got our buttons, and I'm going to apply a button color to this. So this is our button BG. And our button color, of course, is the button text. And then for the is secondary, we can actually just break this and give it transparent. Oops. But give it a color stroke. So this is still the same button BG color. And then for button text, we can also do link text. So now we have our colors here. And then for our main heading colors, we can change individual headings, or we can just do this at the body level. So we want all of the text to change at once. Say text primary. But then I want this to be text dash secondary. So we can apply this class everywhere, and it'll automatically change the color. Everything is colored now and can be modified quickly and easily. Now, what if we want to do dark mode? We can do that more easily now too, using the same CSS embed. We can override colors in CSS, or we can just create a dark palette and reference it in the CSS. So let's do that. I'm going to create color, and I'm going to call this dark/text primary. And we can reference our original colors with this. So we can say swatch is white. Dark/text secondary. We can use our white secondary there. Dark/button BG will continue to be orange, but we might switch to light orange because sometimes dark mode colors can be a little different. And we'll do dark/button text. And in our original, button text is white, but in this case, we're going to make it black because our background is going to be black as well. I'll do dark/link text. Our link text will also be light orange. I'll do dark/BG. BG will be our background color. So if we just change our body background here to our color of light BG, and we go into our HTML embed, we have this media query here that prefers color scheme dark. So if your device or your browser is set to dark mode, this media query will automatically kick in. Right now, there's nothing inside it, so nothing is going to happen, but we're going to write some CSS, just like we did with the font sizes, to override the colors that we've set. So we're going to reference the root, and then we're going to reference our light BG color. This is our original color, and we're going to give it a new variable from our new dark folder. So we're saying it's the dark folder, and it's the BG that belongs to that. And if I hit save, you'll see that that background that shares the same light background is immediately changed. And we're going to do the same for our secondary and primary text colors. So we'll say -- color -- text primary, and give that a variable. We'll say dark -- text primary. So we're overriding the original text primary color with our new dark primary color. If I hit save, they'll turn white. This is because my device is currently set to dark mode. And if I do -- color -- text secondary, we can do the same thing. Again, showing how useful it is to rename your classes in a really simple way for you to understand. Don't get too complicated with them. Now we can't see this because this background is actually on a lighter background, but we can change the color so that we have a, maybe let's say light orange background. So we haven't renamed this light orange background to anything else. This is the swatch. We could also do like, dark BG here and switch it to light if we wanted. But it's just like that. You can recolor everything using the actual dark backgrounds. You'll notice that the hero section didn't actually change except for the text here. And that's because I didn't give this background color a variable. I wanted to show you what it would be like if you just set your own and how easy it is to actually write your own dark mode media query instead. Now, with all of our colors and fonts set in place, if we decide that we want to change the entire theme, we can quickly play with our colors, choose different fonts, change our sizes, and it's all made in one spot. We don't have to go digging for all the spots that we might reference it. We don't have to jump into responsive breakpoints. We don't have to click each element and change them one by one. That's variables. Variables can be confusing, but if you start small and build your way into a bigger system, you're going to have a far easier time than trying to make something complex right off the bat. I've shown you how to use variables for sizes, for font families, and for colors, but I want you to go and try to use variables for spacing or borders, or if you want to get more complex, interactions. And this video should be the perfect primer to get you started. And if you found this video helpful, give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Until next time.